In this video, we're going to investigate how to describe and predict the motion of objects, and in particular, we're going to be looking at time, speed, and distance as our way to describe the motion of objects. So when we are talking about an object being in motion, we're talking about how it changes its position over a period of time. And there are a few things we can measure. But as we describe this, we can measure time, speed, distance, and acceleration. We'll come back to acceleration later. We're going to concentrate on time, speed, and distance today. So what are these? Time is how long it takes for something to happen, and other words that can be used to explain this are duration of an event or journey. And usually we would measure it in seconds, although you'll probably be familiar with minutes and hours and days as other measurements of time. But our sort of standard unit of time is the second. Speed is how fast or slow something travels, and it's measured in meters per second, but you'll also be familiar with kilometers per hour or miles per hour. And distance is how far something travels, and our standard unit of measurement is meters, but you'll be familiar with things like millimeters, centimeters, kilometers, or even miles if you've traveled in places like England. So how do we calculate speed? And if you look at this image here, you might remember the athlete Usain Bolt, and he set a world record for the 100 meter sprint in 2009, where he ran 100 meters in an incredible time of 9.58 seconds. So how can we calculate his average speed during that race? Now, the way we calculate that is to use an equation which is speed equals distance divided by time. And you'll see in this little triangle, we can arrange those three words in a way that helps us to remember what to do with the numbers. So if we want to calculate speed, put your hand over the speed word in the triangle, and that leaves you with distance over time. And then you end up with the formula that speed equals distance over time. In other words, you divide the distance by the time, and that's how we can calculate speed. So let's have a look at how we do that with the Usain Bolt example. If we know the time, we know it took him 9.58 seconds, and the distance, which was 100 meters, we can actually work out speed. So Usain Bolt took 9.58 seconds, he ran 100 meters, so when you take the distance divided by the time, you end up with 10.44 meters per second. So you can see it written out there in longhand, or 10.44 meters per second, so M/S. That's how you write it out shorthand. Let's try another example. This time we'll calculate distance. So you'll notice the same triangle being used down here. And this time, because we want to know distance, we cover up the distance. So distance equals, and we've got time and speed next to each other. They're next to each other, we multiply. So distance equals the time taken multiplied by the speed that the object was going. So let's have a look at an example here. This time we will consider that we are going to travel on a journey for 1 hour, and we're going to travel at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. So if we know those facts, we know the time, we know the speed. So if we multiply the time by the speed, 1 multiplied by 60, we end up with 60 kilometers per hour. We end up with 60 kilometers. So there should be a per hour in there because that would be the speed. So 60 kilometers per hour. And our answer for distance will be 60 kilometers. Our final example is how to calculate time. So we take our same triangle, and this time we put our hand over the time word. So time equals distance over speed. So time equals distance divided by speed. And our example this time, keeping the numbers nice and simple, we're going to travel that same journey of 60 kilometers, and we're going to travel at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. So if we take 60 kilometers as our distance and divide it by 60 kilometers per hour, then we end up with 1. So it takes us 1 hour to travel 60 kilometers at 60 kilometers per hour. One thing you do have to be careful of when you're doing these calculations is to make sure that your units match. So if we want to know how long it will take us, we need to do our units in hours because our speed was in kilometers per hour. So that might be something you need to watch, that your units match when you're doing your calculations. So in summary, remember that we can use the triangle that we've got written out here to calculate either the time or the speed or the distance. And you just need to pop your hand over the thing you're trying to work out, and it will leave you with 2 words, and it will show the relationship whether you divide them or multiply them to work out the element that you're trying to calculate.